Hello, everyone who is here early. So glad to see you. We will be. Hello, everyone, and welcome to STEM Wednesday. You saw me just getting everything set up just now. I'm trying to see if I can move in such a way that my camera will be showing what's up on the panel pretty well. But I know it's always a little bit of a fight in with such a bright backdrop. So I'm not going to be using that as my main way of showing you things. So even if you can't see it too well, hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit. Turning on that light seems to have helped. So wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I see someone has said hello in the chat. Wonderful. If you get a chance, please make sure you change your chat from hosts and panelists to everyone so we can all see what is going on there. And I'm going to start sharing my computer screen because that's the far more important part for this STEM Wednesday. All right, throughout this, I am going to keep the chat open. So anything you throw in there, I will be able to see and respond to. But I'm just super excited today to have such a fun session on our new MyBot Recruit. So if you do not have the MyBot Recruit, if you instead have the older MyBot Fusion that looks more like this session is not going to be specifically directed towards you because we're really going to focus on the screen of the new robot. All right, so today we're going to talk all about how to use this screen in creative ways. My name is Hannah Olson. I am the Mimeo STEM product manager, as I imagine many of you here may know already. And my background is actually in animation. I went to school and studied 3D animation and learned how to tell stories and how to create characters with personality and, you know, all sorts of things on that side of things. I also learned how to do all the 3D modeling that applies to our 3D printer side of Mimeo STEM. And so many of the kits you find in my STEM kits were created by me. But behind me in this photo, you can see on the screen here is a color script from our senior thesis project. It was a very epic story about a cooties outbreak. But today I'm going to share some of these things that I learned in creating personality in animation and apply it to different ways you could do activities with your MyBot Recruit and really optimize the screen to help create that personality. So questions first, if you have your MyBot Recruit with you, check the bottom left corner down here of your screen when you power it on. It should give you a version number for the software. Also, if you are in the Blockly interface of your MyBot, and this is true for both the Recruit and the Fusion, on the home screen, like before you get into this code menu, the version of your software will be in the bottom right corner on that screen. So those are just a couple ways to find out what version you are working from. And we are going to be working today with some new updates that came out in version 1.4.1. So if you are working from an older version of your MyBot and you're trying to follow along, you may not see, you know, all of the same features and things that we're going to highlight in this session because we just released a new firmware recently. I'm going to drop the link here for how to update your MyBot robot.
How to open your car.
Just a second, grabbing it from my other screen. Use this link here in the chat if you are needing to update your robot to this newest version, because a lot of the screen features are in the new version. So don't do that right now. Follow that video later. For now, just follow along, and would love if you would participate in everything as much as you can with the conversation until you get your robot updated. So what is new in version 1.4.1? We have adjusted picture blocks. So I know there was a bug for a while where the turns weren't behaving the way they were expected to. People were having some challenges with the picture blocks. And the good news is we have fixed that in that firmware update. Now you can see we have these sort of curved arrows instead of set angles. And what these allow you to do is put in an increment of time so you can really fine tune how your robot is moving. We also changed the speeds from looking like animals to being crawling, walking, and running, as that is a little bit more intuitive for students. So just how you would find these, you would go into View Mode Basic, and that's where you're going to get all of your picture-based blocks. Under the Move menu is where you find the turns and different things like that. So that's one of the things we changed in version 1.4.1. We also added basic loops, just repeat a certain number of times so that you can help build shapes and different things like that with your students. So this would be repeating twice. Pop quiz, someone in the chat, tell me what shape I am asking my students to build if these two turns happen to go to 90 degrees. So we're just going to take that for a grain of salt. So what shape is this building? If it has a larger number here, it means it will do that for more seconds. Oh, all right. I got my first answer in, and they said a square. If you notice here, the first side only goes for 1, whereas the second length goes for 2 seconds. So this is actually a rectangle, but so close. You are right on par with what this would roughly do in the real world. And anytime you do coding, it is super important to test things and troubleshoot things just like we would if we were coding this. So love it. Thank you for participating. All right. Other new things, and what we're going to mostly focus on is the display blocks. These blocks directly control what you can see on your robot's screen. So we have faces, we have emojis, we have traffic signs, shapes, a sort of miscellaneous category, animals, nature, buildings, and transportation. So all these different categories of, types of blocks and types of pictures you can include. So looking at just these few things here or on your MyBot, if you have it updated in front of you, what activities do you think you could do with these new screen options? And I need you all to type your ideas in the chat for me. And let's have a little bit of a brainstorming session here. Just thinking about changing the faces, changing out different traffic signs, types of transportation, things like that. Well, you come up with some ideas and put these in the chat for me. I'm going to stop sharing just long enough to pull them up here behind me so you can see a little bit of what the options are. So, for instance, if I go to display animal, I can click on the drop down and I see a chameleon, a wolf, an owl, a turkey, a ladybug, a seal, an eagle, and so forth, all the way down. There's loads and loads of different animals you can include. And the other menus are very similar. So if I click on nature, I can find, a lot of different environments. I'm seeing some weather. I'm seeing some phases of the moon. I'm seeing, different plants. So trees, flowers, mushrooms. All right. Ooh, okay. We're starting to get ideas in here. Something with city planning. Learning about the different jobs that keep cities functioning. Oh, I love that. So like the robot could take on a role of a street sweeper or a trash collector, or even an electrician going through and rerunning power lines. Oh, that could be really fun. I love the tying in with different careers. Let's see. I've definitely like the idea of you could even set up, someone just typed in here with like having robots interact with each other and having like one of them set up as a traffic sign and like doing red light, green light. That sounds like a really fun activity. So awesome. All right. Hopefully, as we keep going, I'm going to keep sharing my ideas, but feel free to keep sharing yours in the chat. That's one of my favorite parts of these sessions is hearing from y'all as well. So let me go back to sharing my screen. Again, feel free to keep typing if you are currently doing so. All right. So some inspiration from me, things I thought of when we were developing this firmware update and deciding what pictures to include. So we currently have a lot of lesson plans that use either our Mimeo STEM activity mat, the grid-like one that you may have received with your robots. And we also have some activities that use our new city mat. And anytime you're doing activities on a city, so the Mimeo STEM activity mat, we do loads of stuff with this, as you would know from looking through the lessons. But oftentimes we turn it into a city. So for instance, in the buildings category of what you can do for your screen, you have all the different buildings that we include in our city engineering kit. So if your robot is driving to a park, pull up a picture of a playground. If it's driving to a hospital, pull up a picture of a hospital and let it show where it's at. So this could just integrate right away with any of the existing lessons we have, such as bicycle delivery routes, Mars colony, drone delivery distances. Even on drone delivery distances, one of our transportation options is a picture of a drone. So maybe while he's moving, he shows a drone on the screen and he's picking up packages. So we have a package and miscellaneous. There's loads and loads of different things you can find as you start digging through this. Now, the other option here is to create a whole new activity where you're building a tour of your town and highlighting the various landmarks. In addition to just pictures and images you can put on the screen, you can also have it show text and type out a certain small paragraph worth of information can fit on the screen at once. So you could talk about your town or invent a town, design a town, things like that. So that's the first idea. And this is sort of trying to be more approachable to activities you maybe have done in past years, maybe you did earlier this year, but you're looking forward to next year, how you might be able to adjust them to have some of the new features that weren't available when we originally wrote the lesson plans. Another idea I had was to video record an interview. Now, I know many of you sign up for these STEM Wednesdays from an email blast we put out, so you may not always see, but we do promotional videos every week for our different STEM Wednesdays. And this week, for my promotional video, I invited everyone to join using an interview with the recruit. So I sort of created a script in my mind. I chose specific pictures for the recruit to show on his screen to answer my questions, as well as different facial expressions from his little face there. And then it took a couple tries, but recorded the video where the recruit was answering my questions at the correct timing. And this is such a fun idea of how you could actually do this with your students, because you're tying in your ELA, your literacy, even speaking and listening, all of that ties in standards-wise with an activity like this. So if you didn't see the video, I'm going to play it now and take note of how I use the faces, how I use the screen images to create this personality and this character for the recruit. I think I'm going to stop share real quick because when I share, I need to make sure I share with audio. Share sound. Okay, if you can hear me, please let me know in the chat. Someone else is typing. What a cool idea. Love this for the beginning of the year activity. Yeah, especially with the icebreaker. Yes, wonderful. Let's make sure you can hear the video as well. I'm going to hit play.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and this is the recruit.
Oh.
We'd like to... Hi. Hi, I'm Hannah, and this is The Recruit. We'd like to invite you to join us for a very special STEM Wednesday all about programming this little robot. But let's ask him a few questions first. Where would you like to go? To the playground? That's a great choice. And what do you want to be when you grow up? A rover. Oh, I think you'd make a great rover. Now, last question. What is your favorite animal? A chameleon. Is it because it's green like you? Well, we'd like to invite you at 4 o'clock on April 10th to join us for a very special STEM Wednesday all about my little friend here. Hope to see you there.
All right, I did get some messages in the chat that y'all could hear the video and that you love it, so thank you. I'm glad you did. I had a lot of fun recording it. And while in editing, we did zoom in on his face between each answer. That was one take, not the first take, but one take, all timed out perfectly. And I would definitely encourage you to do the same with your students. So next idea, we're sort of shifting focus here to science. Because a lot of our city activities are actually very math heavy. The last one was very language arts heavy. This one is science heavy. So you can do this in all your different subject areas. But this would be phases of the moon. Now, moon's a big topic these days. I just traveled for the eclipse. I did not see totality. We had too many clouds, alas. But it's still a great time to start integrating and talking about phases of the moon with the robot. Now, if you noticed when I was showing the nature images up on my screen, we had the different phases of the moon all programmed. So I would challenge your students with the following. Program the robot to drive in a circle, pause when it gets to each of these 8 points around the circle that you can see in this diagram here, and then change the screen to show the correct phase of the moon. So you could set up like a flashlight as the sun, or 3D print a sun, or anything like that. And then have your robot actually showing what the moon would look like to the Earth. As a bonus challenge, have your screen then display the name of the phase, or have the robot even turn to face the Earth before showing the phase of the moon, because that is what the Earth or what the moon looks like from the vantage point of the Earth. The moon itself hasn't really changed anything. It's always half in shadow and half in light from the sun. We actually already have a lesson plan called Earth Moon System Animation that uses Scratch to actually just code this in a computer. I think this would be a great way to integrate with that and bring it into the real world, challenge your students with the MyBot, and have a lot of fun sort of taking the coding to the next level with that regard. And then going back to some language arts, some research, but also still living in the science world a little bit here. This activity is called Zoo Tour. And so what I would do, bring in art. Students love it. It's a lot of fun. Use the large rolls of paper that every school has, and have your students draw out and design a zoo. I'd probably do this in groups. And then the groups would program the robot to drive through the zoo, stopping at just some of the exhibits. You can choose how many are required. Show a picture of that animal on the screen, and then use the text features to share a fun fact about the animal also on the Recruit screen. So in the sample you can see here, it has, starting with "Let's visit the zoo," some sort of intro, maybe he introduces himself. You notice I'm also putting these wait commands after everything. That's how long that either picture or text will stay on the screen. So the wait commands are available in the time menu, which is important to make sure you always include that. Otherwise, it'll just flash on the screen very quickly. You may not even see it with how fast it goes. So always make sure you add a wait command to tell it how long to stay showing. And so, it can go and drive to the first animal, and that's a tiger. And it waits a second and shows a picture of a tiger. And then it says, "Tigers are the largest amongst other wild cats." And, continuing, drives through the zoo a bit more, gets to the giraffe exhibit. "Giraffe sleeps standing up." and just really fun, little bit of research, fun facts, nothing too intense here, though certainly you could take this to the next level where students maybe do a big research project or something on a specific animal, zoo design. Maybe instead of being in a zoo, you're having a world tour seeking out different animals from different continents. Do you arrange your zoo by mammals, reptiles, amphibians? Do you arrange your zoo by, which continent these various species are found on? There's a lot of different options here. So hopefully, I'm just trying to throw a whole load of inspiration at you so you can take what stands out the most. And then the last idea I have to share for you all is quick coding. Now, this would be great as like 5 to 10 minutes transitions or start of end of class. You get your students ideally either in small groups. Some of these only work one-on-one, so maybe it's a breakout group that you're doing this activity with, or a one station in a set of stations. But task students with quickly finding and displaying an answer on their screen. So you can start with one-part questions and then add multiple parts. So if you have any ideas of what you might do with this, I'll let you drop those in the chat. But because we are right at our 20 minutes, I'm going to start sharing mine immediately. The first one is, how are you feeling today? Choose an emoji or face to describe your current emotions. Tie it in with your SEL parts of the day. Or younger students, if you're working on spelling in elementary, display the animal on the screen that is spelled on the board, or vice versa. But having them display the animal is going to be easier for you as a formative assessment to see what they've spelled, because the text comes in pretty small on the screen. So if you do have them spelling things on the screen, make sure that they're comparing with their fellow peers as a way of checking what they did was correct. Show 3 shapes that are colored with warm colors. So some of the shapes are, red, orange, yellow. They could show those. But if they showed green, purple, blue, this is more on the art side of things and art theory, all of the different ways you could tie that in. And then here's some multi-part challenges. So either a single question or a multi-part question. Which of these ecosystems is known for very little rainfall and hot temperatures? And then they go into nature and find the ecosystem that matches the question and holds it up so you can see it. In this case, desert. Big spoiler, I know. And then another, this would be a big multi-part coding challenge. Put these in order of a food chain starting with the sun. So you have the sun, then you have a flower, the moth, a bird. The cat eats the bird. Uh-oh, your little cat gets eaten by a wolf. It's very sad. Maybe you don't use a house cat. Speaking of which, mine is outside, hopefully not getting eaten by a wolf. I'm sure he's not. I'm in far too urban of an area for that. But you can hopefully get an idea with all of these different inspirational ideas. And the last thing I wanted to end with was just a few sort of insights from animation. I'm going to take off my glasses so you can see my eyes a little better. But if I turn to look behind me, and if I turn to look back, just like Bill Nye in this GIF here, we blink when we change where we are looking. Unless you are intentionally trying not to. You can keep your eyes open and change what you're looking at, but it takes work. If you're not thinking about it and you turn to look at something, you're going to blink when you move your head. So maybe anytime the robot is turning when it animates or when it's moving around, you have the blink face show up for a screen. And then the other one is reaction and interaction. So in this Minions GIF here, we've got him yelling banana, and who's paying attention in the background? It's all about the reaction to something else. So instead of an interview where I'm interviewing the robot, maybe 2 robots are talking to each other. Are they hosting a late night show, a news show, tie it in with government? Are they hosting or talking to each other, telling jokes? Whatever it is, make sure that whichever one isn't currently doing the talking is still reacting. When for instance, in my interview with the little recruit I shared earlier, I made sure that when I told the robot that he would make a very good rover, that He got the little like happy face with his eyes all happy and he blushed a little bit. That kind of reaction really helps bring the character to life. All right, one idea here for quick coding as an icebreaker, great for getting to know you activities. Yeah, choose from these animals to pick your favorite. Where would you rather spend a weekend? Oh, I love that. And then another idea is to identify pollinators, display an animal that lives in a specified region. Yes, our pollinator pass activity we wrote for second grade, we had students designing a real world object to set on top of the robot showing the pollinator. Well, now they can also just put it on the screen. So love it. Thank you for sharing those ideas, Jillian. So thank you already. You've already beat me to this question. Which of these activities are you most interested in trying out? Or did you think of something else to try? I really like the quick coding as an icebreaker. That's a fun way to shift that I hadn't quite thought of. So thank you all so much for attending today. Next week, Jonathan is back with another AI themed lesson or a STEM Wednesday called Leveraging AI Chatbots in the STEM Classroom. So this you can sign up for at bit.ly/STEM Wednesdays. I'm dropping the link in the chat. It is case sensitive. So be sure to sign up and join us next Wednesday at the same time. I'll stick around if you have any other questions or ideas you want to share, but I do want to respect your time, and I know we are already at 25 after the hour. Have a great day, everyone.